Hey, Marcelo.
Hi. Hi, Quinn. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Cool. Thanks for trying this out.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah. It's a total experiment. So, yeah, let's see. How have you been?
Yeah, doing good. Still, the usual grind, I guess, of the startups, right? So trying to build the product that you dream of, trying to send it to as many developers as you can, iterating, and yeah, just using it, dogfooding it, and yeah, have some fun, enjoy with the team, and build something great. That's pretty much what's going on here.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I have no idea how this will go. Are you open to me just posting the Zoom link and Twitter and seeing if anyone else wants to join?
Sure, why not?
All right, cool. I'll enable well, no. So I'll make it so people are muted. All right. Let me get the link. All right, so I have no idea if people are going to join or whatever, but we'll record it. If it's interesting, you cool if we post it?
Yeah, sure. No, cool. Why not?
All right, sounds good. So you said you're a power user of GitHub Code Search.
Right, that's a good statement to start with.
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean by power user. So perhaps I don't know if there's a lot of superpowers that you can have on GitHub Code Search that I'm not aware of. But yeah, I use it semi regularly. But maybe you can just tell me what you had in mind when you were asking for power users. What's it mean to you?
Well, how do you use GitHub Code Search, and how often do you use it?
Yeah, I guess I use GitHub Search typically when just trying to find some particular piece of code, I guess, that I'm interested in. Or I guess one thing that is kind of useful is when you're trying to learn about the new API, or you just imported some library and you're trying to see how people are using certain aspects of the API. And that's pretty much typically it, right? So I don't use GitHub Search on my own repos because the IDE it's just much better to do that, right? So there is no need to go to GitHub to search on my own repos.
So you use GitHub Search on other people's public code? Is it global search?
Yeah, it's global search typically. Yeah, so just trying to see how people are using a particular API and see if you can just get some ideas on how to use it, because sometimes documentation of APIs is not really it's a bit fuzzy, so it's unclear what's happening.
Yeah, cool, sounds good. So what was the last time you used GitHub Code Search?
I guess I've been using it almost every week. So well, the last time was just a few hours ago because I was also trying to see what sort of thing is kind of giving it. But yeah, I would say I use it on a semi-daily basis, perhaps, or every week, at least once to search something.
Cool. Can you show us, just screen share and show one of the times recently you used it, what you used it for, or maybe there's something you'd use it for right now?
Yeah, sure. Let me just, since we're recording, I just need to make sure that this is not. Yeah, so wow. So I guess I need some permissions to share the code. Let's see if I can screen share it.
All right.
Yeah, I do. Let's just open this. All right. So I guess you can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So what's going on here, right? So this is a library in Go called Git2Go. Essentially, you want to, I'm sure that perhaps you also use this library at Sourcegraph to do some Git operations, or you have your own library.
Not currently, but yeah, I've seen it and it's a cool library.
Yeah, so we use this a lot in our own product because we are doing a lot of Git operations. And so it's kind of nice to see, for example, how people are actually using it. I'm sure this is going to go to, but I would hope it goes some sort of imports. So typically what I would like to search is something like this. I don't know if this is really going to work at this way, but I just want to search, how people are importing. So here we go. You see that people are importing it here, and then you can kind of like just go and try to see what's going on. And just searching for then git2go dot, and then you are kind of trying to kind of see what people are using it for. So this is a typical usages of it. Then you might want to so they have their own kind of navigation now, where you can kind of see what is being used in this kind of project as well. And then you might just want to search for a particular.
Wait, can you go back to that? You hovered over clone.
Yeah.
And so those references, a lot of them are just looks like text-based, because those other methods are those are not the same clone method, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I would imagine so, right? I mean, what they are doing is some sort of a token-based navigation here, right? With the semantic service that GitHub offers.
How often do you use this GitHub code navigation hover?
Almost never, because the only most of the time I'm reading code on GitHub. It's 90% on pull requests. Actually, I stopped doing that because we are actually building our own code review tool, so I don't even do that anymore. But I found that when I was using GitHub still to the pull requests, because they don't have a navigation there, I was not really going to master and just navigating code there. I just easier to pull up the code and do it in the IDE. There's also other issues with that, is that when I'm here, so I'm in some sort of particular version, right? But if I'm here and I start to go to this one here, I'm a bit scared that I might go to a new version of the code. So so I don't know if it's even sending me to the same revision, so the same commit. If I go to the actual master project of this one here, and now I just click on go, right? So git.main.go. By the way, I don't know exactly what this project is doing. It's the first time I'm looking at it, so we are kind of exploring this together.
Yeah.
And now when I click here, right, so you kind of see that you are in master, and now you're going to go to some other commit, right? This 3AFF type of thing.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of, okay, where am I? Right? Because I would expect to continue to be in master, right? So this kind of ability to not really understand if I'm navigating in the same revision is very confusing when you're navigating code, right? You definitely want to make sure you're doing that. And obviously you can go to the actual library, right? So this is also a library on GitHub.
Yeah.
And then you can start going to the documentation, right? So this is pretty much what you'll be able to see. And then you can go to the reference, and now things become a bit more interesting, perhaps, because then you can start searching for particular things, right? So say you are here and you're trying to do, let's say there should be something that blocks trees. Let's just search for tree. Yeah, it's kind of nice. I would actually like to search here for walk tree, because I'm sure there's something called walk tree. Okay, maybe this one here. Yeah, so now when you are going to go to GitHub, the cool thing would be to also search here for this particular method, right? And you actually want to see how people are using it. And now I'm moving away from
cool.
Go, right? And now I want to see, so it's not super cool because here you start to give me some other stuff like bindings, right? So first thing I want to do is to kind of just restrict to language. Obviously, C is going to be highest because that's where people are using it.
Why did C just go down in that list? It was at the top, right? Now.
I don't know. I mean, let's see what happens here. So it was on the top here. I don't even know what this kind of ordering people are doing here. Perhaps some sort of relevance matching. Don't know really.
Yeah.
You can search in the commits. I never use this search in the commits, to be honest.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly what it's doing. So I'm kind of stick with the code
Yeah,
and
cool. So you'd probably you'd filter down by C only?
yeah,
Okay, cool.
and then you are kind of here and you have
Yeah.
some kind of sorting mechanism recently indexed. I mean, this is a bit silly, right? Because
Yeah, do you ever use recently indexed or least recently indexed?
no, because
Okay.
it's what does it mean, right? This is some
Yeah,
almost something internal to GitHub, right? So it's a little bit strange to put this kind of
yeah.
stuff to. Perhaps it would be
What does
nice to, yeah.
best match mean?
Sorry,
What does best match mean?
I don't know. You tell me. I guess it's probably like some exact right match. Do you know how these things actually work? Like
I don't know
precisely?
how best match works. I don't know if it's like a text match or if it's based on like stars or date or other stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I mean, you can
I would
just.
like it to be on stars. So,
No, I don't think so. Best match is 1 star, and this one is 2,
yeah,
and this one was. Yeah, I don't think it was on stars to be
yeah,
honest, because this is like 1 star, and this is like 28 stars. So
yeah.
that doesn't seem right.
So how often do you use GitHub code? Like, well, be concrete. How often in the last 2 weeks do you use GitHub code search?
I'm telling you, I'm using it. The only problem that you have. So I guess I used it a couple of times in the last 2 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 times. The thing that is most annoying is that you need to have some context, right? Because now I'm here in this view, and now I need to kind of go and parse this. So I might even go to like the next page until I see some code is actually relevant to me.
Yeah,
But to be truthful, I mean, I didn't really do a pretty good search, right? I just searched for a token. So I mean, what was I expecting, right? So I probably needed a kind of a specification language here to say, find me a method that uses this function together with some other import, right? That's kind of what I would like to be able to express,
yeah,
because I don't even know if this is calling the library that we're actually interested in, right? So I would need to kind of give the query to whatever engine so that they actually can process it, right? So yeah, you kind of get what you a little bit asked for, which is not much. I don't know if that made sense,
yeah,
but for sure they are using the methods that you are kind of interested here.
yeah,
So some fine versions. So yeah, I've used it in the past. It worked most of the times. I have to be honest, it doesn't really work. So you kind of end up going to like Stack Overflow, but I use it only to really search code. So I don't try to search stuff in commits or do some kind of like root cause identification, as I guess similar to what you're trying to do with Sourcegraph, right? To even use the search as a way to kind of bisect on the code to find out where potential problems might be. So yeah, search is a very limited operation in a way for me, because I'm really just trying to find some snippet of code that kind of gives me some idea on how to use something.
yeah. And so you said for your own code, that's all local in your editor and you just search in your editor?
Yeah,
Okay, what editor do you use?
VS Code,
Right.
typically. Yeah.
So you just go to that find panel. Do you usually use regex search or literal, or do you switch between?
I switch between, but typically, it's really easy to find what you're looking for, because you know the code. So it's a code base that I know kind of well. So when I'm searching for it, I kind of know exactly where to search for. It's also microservice architecture. So the only thing I kind of have to do is just to filter out the microservice that I'm not interested in getting the search activated on. So it's more like that.
So do you go and edit the glob paths that it searches over in the find panel?
Yeah.
Cool. And how much code are you searching over in your editor? Like how many people have been building it for how long?
So it's been about 7 people. So we have about, I would say 100,000 lines of code, not that much. So it's still a small code base.
All right. And because you use your own product, I assume it's all very high quality code and well reviewed, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It is well. It's tried to be well reviewed, but it's really just you're trying to sometimes find where something is being used. So we have a microservice architecture that uses gRPC and protobuf, right?
Mhm.
So what's most annoying is when you are in your search, and I'm just gonna show you a little bit of our code. But the most annoying thing that happens is, say you are in some kind of service. Say I'm in this service here, and I want to find out, like,
So
there's
it's
some
still
sort of
showing GitHub. Are you talking about some other window?
yeah, I think I have to give you access to that. Let me see how to do that. Okay, so let me stop sharing and do a new share. Okay, maybe this one here. So I guess now you can see my, so, this is, pretty much gRPC code. Here is a function that asserts a comment. So it's a comment made in a pull request. And the most annoying thing that you have is when you're trying to find this function, so you typically just go search. You can see where it's been showing up in all the microservices. So this is all the microservices in one place. And one thing that is very annoying on the IDE is the fact that, when you're here and then you do go to definition, here what's going to happen is that you're going to go to the generated code, right? So
Yeah.
one of the things we actually are building is a way that it connects to find out where is actually the consumer. So what are the clients? Because I don't want to go to generated code ever. This is something that never should happen.
Yeah.
So the only reason that you kind of have to do the search is pretty much because this thing doesn't really work. Like this kind of small navigation between like consumers and producers doesn't really work that well for this specific use case, which is when you're using gRPC and protobuf. And I guess this happens in many other cases, right? Where people generate code, library code, and then that code is being used somehow, and you're trying to navigate, and you can't, because you really have to understand what to search for, right? So even searching for the request is more useful, because then you kind of understand, the search here is excluding some other things. And then that's what I was telling you, right? You can just exclude particular files, and we have a workspace with our microservices, or some of our microservices for the backend, and that's pretty much it.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. Well, that was really interesting to see how you use GitHub Code Search. Before we get on to comparing it to Sourcegraph and you judging, do you know other people? Do they use GitHub Code Search like you do? What have you heard from other people?
Oh, I think the usual feedback is that, it doesn't really work very well. But that's, yeah, I don't know to say. I mean, I think people sometimes use GitHub Search, but, Stack Overflow is still the place to go, typically when you're trying to at least find some errors. But I do, people in my team, they still use it, right? So when they're actually, as I mentioned, just dealing with a new library, they want to see if people are using it. One thing that's actually cool to use GitHub Search is to vet libraries. So say you have, like, you're trying to build a new functionality, and there's like 3 or 4 open source libraries that are using it, that are possible to use. You can go to the projects page in each one of them and compare the stars and see if people are still active. But another thing that's actually useful to actually do search over that, to see actually how many kind of references you find for each individual library, and see, okay, actually this one seems more robust because there's more people using it, or it's used by a company that you actually know that they write good production code. So that's kind of useful to use code search as well on the entire GitHub.
Yep. Cool. All right. Oh, we got a comment. Yeah. He says, tend to use GitHub Search once in a while, but as Marcelo said, it doesn't work that well. Sometimes you're forced to use it since you don't want to clone a bunch of repositories locally to reference something. Here, I'll unmute and feel free to chime in if you want to. So now this is totally open-ended, as an experiment. Love to just have you pull up sourcegraph.com/search and try it and compare it to GitHub Search, screen share and walk through.
Right, let's do it. Just share my screen again. So here we go. So sourcegraph.com/search, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I can do stuff. All right. So I'm Actually, this is kind of funny because I've not used this in a long time. Last time I tried Sourcegraph was a couple of years ago, and I'm sure it's changed substantially. So there's some types. Do you just want me to type stuff, or
Yeah, try one of the same searches that you did on GitHub, but on Sourcegraph.
Right, let's do it then. Okay, so let's just go for it. Just out of curiosity, let's just see what the numbers are. Okay, so 500 plus. Some results are excluded. Okay. All right. So there's a lot of stuff going on the left panel. I see. I guess I can change the language. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. So what are these things here? So these are filters, right? So
yeah,
count, select. So I guess this is some information here. Yeah, okay.
mm-hmm.
For example, select repo displays only distinct repositories. It's a little typo.
Yeah, typo. That's embarrassing. Good catch.
No problem. No problem, no problem. See language definition for possible values. So what is this language definition? Sorry, just press on button here. Whoa, okay. It's a little bit, yeah, I need to, perhaps the select was not the best option here. So the language already put the file. So let's see if we can get some, so this is just a regex, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can find something called Git on it.
It's a regex, not a glob.
Okay, so let's just say.
But noted that's an easy mistake to make.
Okay. Sorry, it's a regex, not a glob.
Yeah.
So that means that I need to do like this, or?
Well, you don't need to. I mean, like, it'll find, if you just say file colon git, it'll find any file path with git in it.
Okay, okay. So is it supposed to find something with git on the file itself? Yeah, okay, I see.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I actually make the file name, not the file path?
You can do $, like regex, because that'll.
Yeah. Just like this?
Well, that, you know, in regex, the $sign is the end, matches the end.
Yeah.
So you just put the $sign at the end of git, after git, not before.
Okay. Wait, something is happening here. Okay.
All right. Cool.
Let's go for it.
And what kind of files end in git? Like a .git file, or?
Yeah, I was just trying to see if there is something that, you know, has like git.c, but I guess I could just search for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Only 5. Interesting. Interesting. So can I even do that kind of stuff here? Be curious to see if I could do the same kind of, let's just see here, advanced search. So see these repositories, code options. Okay. Let's see what happens. Okay, so 10. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to go deeper now into the code to see what kind of thing this is.
Yeah.
To be honest. So maybe we should move to something else. So you're doing a search over all repos on GitHub, all open source repos?
It's 980,000 repos right now.
Okay.
So
And
we'll index in order of stars. So I think it's every repo with more than a few stars right now, but we're increasing the size of the index every day.
Okay, so one thing that would be kind of nice here, just out of feedback, is to kind of understand where you are in this repo here, right? Which revision you are of the repo.
Mhm.
So I guess I have to click here. Can I even see that here? Like where exactly am I in the repo? Like which commit?
Yeah, in
which
the top
bin?
left.
Okay, so I'm in master, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Does the navigation work here? Like, can I?
Yeah, it should. You might need to be signed in. Let me pull up the same one that you're looking in.
Just share that here.
Yeah, try another file, like a .c file.
Okay. So this is the repo. Do you guys have navigation for JavaScript?
Yes, we do. So yeah, I think there we go.
Find references.
And so if you click through, it'll keep you on, the default revision or master. It's not going to take you to a shop unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm. What is this search based? What is generated by heuristic text-based search? So this is kind of like not using else if, or?
Right, this is not using else if. A lot of repos are, but not every repo yet.
Okay,
so a lot of
this
code
is
stuff will be else if. A lot of TypeScript stuff will be else if.
okay. Yeah, I guess the language server protocol probably doesn't work so well for JavaScript. But let's try. All right, let's try to go for some Guava thing. I guess there must be some. Oh, yeah, there we go. So it's sorted by stars. Let's go for some Java code. Let's see here. So we're on master here. All right, so this is probably using else if, right? This is what the semantic means.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so what is, just put this thing. What is all these tabs here? So mix, precise, and search. Show.
Yeah, that's
okay. Okay, I'm not signing in. Okay, I guess some of these things are not possible.
Yeah, that's a bug that's showing multiple error.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so can I search on other repos the usages of this like abstract graph from Guava?
You can. For Java, we don't yet have precise, cross repository. So try something in Go. Like go to a Go library that you use.
Okay. Just give me a second. So let's go here. 1 second. Okay, so I guess I can just do this. Yep. So I guess I can continue to search here, right? So let's search for. Second. Search for this. Okay. So here we go. Find references.
Got it. So yeah, we don't have else if data for this particular repository.
Okay, so let's try another repo then.
Probably because it's does it use cgit? No, it doesn't use cgit.
Let's just use some other repo then. Let's go for this one. Go while we use.
All right, so semantic.
Actually, let's search for. Let's go. Sec. Just 1 second.
What happened? Are you waiting for?
I'm just searching for some stuff on my NID to find out something here. Okay, so let's just do this one. This one seems good.
Cool.
So let's find references.
All right. So it's found some other repos on the left. It's got.
Oh.
Yeah, it's found one other repo.
Interesting.
Uses it.
Interesting.
And so that's precise using else if. We haven't done else if over every single repo out there, but we're working on it.
Okay. Let me just see how this just compares. So if I just search for UI.parse, like if I just search here on GitHub, just to see what actually shows up. So let's go. What percent is found? Interesting. So it doesn't even find the.
I think you need to go to the code tab on GitHub search, right?
Yeah, but in the repos it should find the Google one. I would imagine.
Oh, got it.
So that was a bit surprising to me because I think that you have it here. Right? So if I see.
Yeah.
But I'm just searching for parse. So this is actually searching for, right, using the else if tag. Okay.
Yeah. Usually if I wanted to find calls to uuid.parse, I'd go to Sourcegraph and type in lang:go space uuid.parse in Sourcegraph. And that's probably going to be good enough. So give that a try.
Okay. And then file, you said? No.
No, just uuid.parse.
Let's do the file. The same. We'll find a lot more repos actually. Is this a regex? So if
you can make it a regex over on the far right of that text box.
What is structural search? Is it for like AST type of thing?
Yeah, syntactic.
And how does it work? What's the
You can basically write code, and then anywhere you want it to match anything, you just put ... So what you could do is,
like this?
Yeah, like that. That'll find function calls with any expression. It's really useful when there's, you want to find try catch blocks with an empty catch block, or you want to find calls where the first argument is like this, or things like that.
Okay. Let's do this then. Just out of curiosity, what the hell?
Yeah, I'd be curious to see it on GitHub too.
And okay.
So GitHub just, doesn't treat that colon equals as exact. It kind of just discards it.
Let's try to help GitHub a little bit by just doing this. That doesn't really help. You know if there's a way to check for code sensitivity, like case sensitivity here? To remove these cases here?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, so this is looking better. So I can continue, right?
Yeah.
So is it like a new line, or does it work for multi-lines?
Yeah. If ... is a multi-line expression, then it'll match that.
Actually, let's do this. Let's try to find cases where it's failing.
And it's also white space insensitive. So not that this would happen in Go, but if there's like 2 spaces there, it would still match.
Okay.
We're working on making this index a little bit faster. So
like that. You cache the results? I guess not. It seems to be finding the same query.
Yeah.
Well, interesting.
We have some limited caching, but it'd be nice for this to be a lot faster. And not sure why it had no results from the previous one. But there it goes. Okay,
it's interesting that if I continue the search for this, right? It's unable to find this example. Be curious to see why that is.
Yeah.
Is it because I did something wrong in the search, or like, am I supposed to see this result and this result if I do this now, or?
I think it could have just timed out.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is nice because I guess you can start doing some kind of search to find, places where you have not checked errors, right? I guess that's pretty much. So let's just do a simple basic search in Go, which is, I guess, should be this one. So this should try to find. Yeah, for sure. This is nice. I mean, it's definitely nicer than GitHub, right? If you're trying to do some syntactic search over all GitHub, then you definitely want to do that.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know why it's showing no results. I have a few theories. I'll look into that, but
sure.
Generally, we're working on indexing structural search better. If the structural search begins with a very common thing like if, rather than some function name, then I think it's a little harder for us to optimize right now. We just got to work on it. So maybe try some other function call like func.printf or so, fmt.printf or something like that.
So let me actually just see something here. So let's just do. Sorry, one second. Let me just pull up something here. Here is the disease. Just do this. What's this? So here I'm searching is, so there is a status in gRPC from the gRPC library, and I'm just trying to find out places where, pretty much what's happening here, right?
Yeah, that was much faster.
Okay, this is nice. Let's see. Okay, and so if I search for a function, it would also be able to do it, right? So I guess I need to do this for not, and then let's see what happens here.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to find what you're looking for. That would find like a anonymous function. Oh yeah, actually a method. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it does. It does exactly what I was looking for, right? Because here, what I'm hoping that to find out functions where there is a receiver type, right? That's what I'm trying to put here.
nice. Oh, that's awesome.
And can I search for like number of arguments here as well?
Yeah. So
Is it that something like this? So for 3 arguments, or
yeah, give it a try. I dot 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 might actually match multiple arguments, but let's see. If not, there's another form that's not quite as greedy.
okay. Now I think we're starting to see cool stuff happening here. Okay. Can I? Yeah, this is definitely. Yeah, it's finding more than 3. At least it
Yeah.
showed me 3, so it's giving me, it's sort of user friendly, because I was kind of, yeah, this is really finding it, and then I found that okay, it actually has more than 3. Okay. Yeah, this is nice. I don't know. I mean, I would have to obviously search more and look more into this, but to be able to do to do structural search is kind of cool, because a lot of linters, what they do is not much more than that, right? So it's just some sort of structural search on over ASTs. So if you can just compact that into a single rule, then you're pretty much just yeah, you don't have to use a linter. You can just go and search directly here. And
Yeah.
do you have like favorites? Can I kind of save queries?
Yeah, you can do save search in the top right. You'll have to log in.
Yeah. Okay.
You can also monitor. So you could say, tell me whenever this code pattern is committed to a repo or things like that.
Okay.
Like Google alerts.
Okay. Yeah, definitely what bring my attention, like we spend a lot of time on this structural search, because I really think it's kind of nice. Just out of curiosity, what happens when I do this? Is it gonna, yeah.
So look for literal ...
It's nice that you're trying to have some sort of detection of, how you're actually trying to do this. Is it based on the ... dots? So if I remove them, I guess they.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool though. Yeah. Makes sense. No one is doing that. Maybe people are doing this. Okay.
Try deleting the last parenthesis.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Cool. And so over on the far right, you can see the stars, and it's sorted by stars. So when you're looking for usage examples of functions, it's not some random repo that's first. It's hopefully a repo that's a little more authoritative.
Yeah. But is it interesting, because I would expect for certain searches that, a particular repo, like this, for example, has 2 of them, right?
Yeah.
Actually, they seem to be different.
Defender file.
So wouldn't it like consume the entire page? Like say I have a repo with 50,000 stars that has the same pattern, like as the search hits over them. So can I kind of group by repo to see other repos and just not this one? I don't know if my question was kind of clear.
Yeah. So you want to see, do you want to see like all the files matching in a certain repo, or do you want to see all the repos that match?
Well, I guess ideally I should be able to have some sort of, grouping of this by repo, right? Because they would be like, if there is another hit on this file on this repo, it would show up in second place, right?
Yeah. So yeah, there's actually only one hit in each of these repos.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. But I guess if you go for like searches on a daily basis, there's going to be a lot more hits, right? So as you saw, like on my little ID, there's like 50 hits on the repo alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing here of showing the repos are really kind of helpful. The repo is license. Okay. Oh, this is a search snippet. I see. Like some example. It happens on this.
Yeah. So You
So
can
it's gonna.
define kind of common things, and that repo filter, it's a little,
Okay.
smarter.
Okay. Do you find the need of having the fork?
Yeah, you could say, I don't want to look in forks, or I only want to look in forks.
Okay. And this is, I guess, the number. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. One pretty cool thing is diff search. I know you said you didn't use commit search, but diff search is a really powerful thing. So why don't you take that, like, if you can delete your query, keep the lang go, and say repo colon get to go so that it's filtered. And then search for, like, I don't know, repository or just something simple. And what you're going to see is all the commits that mention repository. So this is a good way to see, like, what changed related to this, or, if something broke in the last few days, who was, working on stuff related to access tokens if that broke. Does that make sense?
A little bit, yeah. So I'm in a diff now.
Yeah.
So this diff. So how does this work? Because I can make arbitrary diffs in the entire.
It's searching over commits.
Okay, searching over commits. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes
Repository
sense.
might be a little bit too general, but like,
No, but it was fine. I was just trying to understand. So this is searching over commits, right?
yeah.
So the diffs that you are restricting to is the diffs that are involved in particular commits.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. Because when you say searching by diff, it's a bit confusing to me because I can just do an arbitrary diff right between two different commits. And
yeah.
So when are you gonna? So okay. So you're saying that this is cool to see when people are introducing or fixing errors.
Yeah. If you want to know, a new bug appeared and it's in the code for opening a repository. Maybe searching for a repository, or if you're paged at 3 a.m. and the logs say there's something broken in access tokens, and you don't know what changed, what commit might have broken that. Well, do a diff search for access token in your code, and you'll see who's been changing code related to that, who might know about it.
Okay. Can I search on over the commit message as well?
Yeah, that'd be type colon commit instead of type colon diff.
So what is the exact difference between the type colon diff and the type colon commit? Because even the diff one is over commits, right? Or
yeah, I guess it's weird. The type diff is over the text of the diff, and type commit is over the commit message.
But can I combine them? So can I search for something that actually changes the repository in the diff itself and the commit message as a particular shape, like bug? So say I want to find out all the commit messages which have bug on it, and the contents of the diff is repository.
Yeah, you can use or and parentheses in the search query to do that. And now, when you said that, it seems like, we should support that.
Okay.
In a better way.
Okay, because that's pretty much what we've been describing, right? Which is you're trying to find a particular commit which is fixing a bug, and the bug is actually something to do with repository.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that would be kind of nice to have here.
Yeah. So
okay, I'm thinking what other tools you are able to actually do that, to search over diffs. Okay, I have to think a bit about this.
It turns out at Facebook they have code search, and they use diff search all the time. That's where we got the idea. You can use get log and have a really complex command line, but it's pretty painful to do it in any other tools.
Okay. Okay. So, and have you found that people outside of Facebook are also using this functionality of searching over commits, over diffs, or?
Yeah. that's where we got the idea. And then we built it in Sourcegraph, and now a bunch more people use it.
So I'm curious about this though, because you are inside of a, okay, let's just search another one because this one doesn't seem to, because the commits, can you specify the branches and stuff like that? Because
Yeah.
you can here, right?
Yeah, you can. It's the default branch by default. It's actually rev : not branch :
Okay. I'm just thinking, okay, I need to look into this a bit more, but yeah.
Yeah. You know, these are some of the more advanced features, and there's a lot of stuff here, but what a lot of, you know, people who use Sourcegraph code search a lot do is get the browser extension or set up the search shortcut in Chrome. And then you can just switch to Chrome and type a hotkey and then say like lang : go, and then some function name. And that's like a really fast way to find calls to that function. And start out with just really simple text search. And if you need to, then you can narrow it using the things on the left or using structural search or things like that. But that's a lot faster than going to GitHub, clicking on search, clicking on code. You see a lot more code at a time on Sourcegraph. It respects punctuation, and it is always going to be up to date, unlike GitHub, which is often stale.
So how often do you update these? So if I make a change into this repo and add a new function, when will I be able to see it on Sourcegraph?
Depends on how popular the repo is.
Okay. So it's by popularity, the sort of background refresh that you guys are doing?
It'll be like seconds though. So we're not talking. Like
It'll be seconds.
Yeah.
At the level of entire 950,000 repos that you have?
Yeah. If we're really overloaded, it might take minutes, but it's way faster. We just have a fundamentally different architecture.
Okay. Can you share more about that? So just you, I guess it's not based on webhooks or anything like that, right? So are you constantly just refreshing your repos on your infra to do that?
We'll use some heuristics. If it's a company setting up Sourcegraph, then yeah, we'll use webhooks. But at GitHub.com scale, we can't use webhooks. So we'll look at, are people visiting that repo frequently? And that's a data point in the heuristic to know, should we refresh it regularly? Also, how often is it updated? So if a repo hasn't been updated in the last 8 years at all, we probably don't need to check it that often. But if it's updated every minute, well then, yeah, we'll check it more often. And so heuristics like that mean, you're searching over fresh code. And also if it's been updated and it's not yet indexed, then we'll have a separate path for searching it that doesn't consult the index. It just searches live. And so, from your point of view, you never need to worry about stale code.
Okay. Can I try the live search, or is it something you can try without being signed in, just to see like how long it takes?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's transparent to you. There is a way to force it. If you say index : no, then it's not going to look using the index. But there's no real need to do that.
Right. Sounds cool. Yeah, the problem with developer tools is always that you need to spend time with them, right? So it's hard in 40 minutes to see the full potential of it, which I'm sure you have experienced many times with the people that you're talking with. If they don't have a particular use case in mind, it takes a little bit of time to get them started.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is you actually don't use GitHub code search all that often. A few times a week is not that often. But
well, I don't know what you consider often. Is it every day? Is there anyone using GitHub search every day?
There probably are. I haven't found anyone who uses it every day. When you responded to that tweet and you said you're a power user, I got really excited because I thought, maybe. But there are people who use Sourcegraph code search 20 or 30 times a day, like, Google. And if you're a dev inside Google, which has their internal code search, if you're a dev at Facebook, which has their internal code search, you're using it, 10 plus times a day.
Yeah, I use it at Google. So, but it's a huge code base, right? So you need to have some kind of tooling, right? When you cannot pull the code in your IDE, there is no option, right? So you really have to find you have to have tooling to help you navigate the code base.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was interested in understanding like what's your definition of a power user, because that was unclear to me. So when you were saying, okay, let's try to see what a power user does. Do you know what the people at GitHub are actually doing about this? So if they're actually using the search themselves, or I guess not, right? Otherwise they'll be complaining, and they would actually fixing it, I would imagine, right? So
yeah, well, they're fixing it. I think it's hard to build code search, and I'm sure that they've got improvements under. I don't know what those are.
Okay. And in GitLab, what's the status? Is it like just because you have this almost native support for Sourcegraph, you're finding people are also using search there, going to Sourcegraph, or just different scenarios and not so much open source code. So the types of searches people do are a bit different.
Yeah, we have a lot of customers who have code on GitLab. A lot of customers that have code, some on GitHub, some on GitLab, and have it scattered across a lot of different places, and we'll search all of that, which is nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So the one thing that makes search a lot faster is to get the browser extension. Have you looked at the Sourcegraph browser extension?
I've looked in the past, but I have to be honest. Like what was happening is that the navigation was going, but I was using for navigation, right? So it was kind of populating the GitHub, and when you are on GitHub, you don't want to leave GitHub, right? That's kind of So when it was going to Sourcegraph, it was just too much disruptive back then. I haven't not used it for search, as I guess you are mentioning, but yeah, I guess it works as expected, right? You just install it and you can do this kind of search, easy search on over GitHub and get some info.
Yeah. It does make search a lot faster, but if you sign in, then you can also just go to sourcegraph.com and then type your query, and that should be pretty fast too.
Okay.
But I think the real unlock comes from getting good code search in your workflow. None of this is worth it if you use it two or three times a week, right? It's only worth it if you think it's something that you would be using like 20 to 30 times a week.
Well,
right?
I mean, you have to be searching. I guess it depends on what you mean by searching, right? I mean, if you're saying that you have to search 20 or 30 times a week over entire GitHub, that seems a bit strange to me as a developer. Like it has to be a very particular use case, but obviously on a daily basis, you're searching over your code base 20, 30 times a day even, right? So for that, then it's just a matter of, is the IDE good enough or not, right?
Yeah.
If it's not good enough, then you have to find another solution. And I guess for, code bases that are up to, I don't know, 1 million or 2 million lines of code, then it's hard to beat the capabilities that the IDE already give you, right? Because you already have like probably even more accurate search or go to definition than ELSEIF can give you in a way. So, I mean, for me, what makes sense is this kind of structural search and also searching on the history, because these are things you cannot really easily get on your IDE. So that's, I think, is more potential for the kind of things that I'm doing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, right? I mean, you have to be using. I mean, I'm just curious because it sounds like I'm doing something wrong if I'm not doing code search on GitHub.
I don't think most devs, don't use code search regularly. That's what we're trying to change, and this is just part of like understanding, what do people do today?
Right. Yeah, I think it's mostly about searching for solutions, right? It's not so much searching for code, but it's searching for solutions. And for that, you need to have a good way of specifying what's your problem. And I guess that's why Stack Overflow is so popular, right? It's because you can just, I mean, we didn't try a few things here, right? But what would be also extremely useful is to say I'm copy pasting an error, right? That opened up in my console, right? So if I'm able to find out why that error is being shown in the code base, that's something that is very powerful, right? Because you can kind of understand, are people actually getting this error some other places in their code base, right? So I mean, I think that's how I see people searching a lot, and why Stack Overflow is massively popular.
Yeah.
And then obviously it takes a bit of time to understand, all the, just the query language, right? If you want to have something powerful, you need to have a good query language to back that up. That's, I think, what I'm getting at. I'm not saying search is not extremely useful. For sure, it's extremely useful. It's just that searching over the entire open source of GitHub seems a bit overwhelming at times, right? So you need time to go over the results.
Yeah.
Right? That's, I think, what I'm trying to say. So it's more about visualizing what you get out of it. But for sure, it's definitely much nicer here than on GitHub, right? So I think you're doing a great job, and really, very nice to see.
Do you think
search
in the future, when you need to search over open source code, you'd use Sourcegraph or GitHub?
That's a good question. I guess one thing that you guys are really doing well, in my opinion, is the fact that I don't have to do anything except go to, sourcegraph.com/search. If you like, the adoption for the developer is kind of seamless. It's like the same as you go to github.com/search or whatever it's called. And I think that's a very, just a question of, keep doing positive reinforcement over devs, and eventually they'll start switching off. So yeah, that's kind of my answer. It's just a question of keep seeing all the tweets that are happening about, how search is great, and then eventually the mental blockage will disappear, that people start moving away from GitHub. But I think it's hard to do that, right? Because you are so used to, I mean, we see that even with pull requests, right? You're so used to doing pull requests on GitHub that even if you have 10 times better experience, people are still tending to go there because that's what they're used to. I don't know if I'm wrong or right, but it seems to be hard.
I think there's some similarities, but one difference is people don't search often on GitHub. And so in a way, it's harder. We need to both convince them to use Sourcegraph and convince them to search a lot more. But in a way, it's easier because I think GitHub PRs are a lot better than GitHub search. So the competition's a little bit easier for us.
I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of complaints about pull requests, right? It's very basic what you can do there. So
but I probably, people use pull requests a lot more than they use GitHub search.
For sure. But it's also hard to educate the market, is what you're saying, right? That you need to make people search first. So it seems like, that's also hard to do. But I don't know. I think everything is hard, because GitHub is just so massively popular, right? So trying to move people away from it, even to click a button, is already hard. So it's definitely something nice to see people trying to get better experiences in the features that GitHub and GitLab and Bitbucket provide. But yeah, so I guess the search that you're referring to is really more like in terms of the open source, right? So because otherwise, if you have huge code bases, I also think that search makes a lot more sense, right? As soon as you cannot, even Twitter, right? I mean, I remember looking at this talk where they cannot load their code on the IDE, so that this semantic DB project to do that. And as soon as you cannot load the code in your IDE, then it's pretty much game over, right? You need to search. You need to be able to do something else that is not powerful enough there. Do you find that you also have to compete with the IDE search, or is it pretty much just GitHub search at the moment that is the target?
We don't compete with GitHub search. So,
but in the sense of just searching, because people do search a lot more in the IDE, right? So are you trying to get better results than in the IDE as well, like even for like small code bases, or that's not really the target at the moment?
Well, usually it's like once you have like 30 devs at a company, there's enough code and probably enough repos so that you don't have all the code locally, or maybe you're on the wrong branch, or you have the other repo, but it's not up to date, or you're searching so that you can answer someone's question. You want to send them a link in Slack. So editor search doesn't actually work that well once the team gets bigger.
Okay.
And so we're not trying to compete head on. I use editor search all the time for the local code, but if it's in another repo, if I don't know where it is, if I don't want to ruin my editor state or change the branch, then I'll go to Sourcegraph. We see that a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I intuitively understand that. We also have the same philosophy of having this sort of monorepo view of the review.
Mhm.
When we talk with a lot of devs, they kind of tell us that actually the scope that they have, even if there's like 100, they don't even know how many repos there are, right? So they only care about 2 or 3 because that's what they are actually changing all the time.
Yeah.
And those typically they can load in the ID. So I understand what you're saying. I also like that, but it's been harder for us to find those kinds of devs, right? Where they actually miss these features of saying, yeah, I want to really do like a global view of the code bases and I want to understand everything, because they seem to be very focused on, you know, the part of the product they're actually touching. So we're curious to talk more about it later at some point to really kind of understand how you're kind of educating and how you're getting these types of feedback, which make total sense to me, right? I mean, you have microservice architectures. It's very rare to find a dev that knows exactly how many projects they have on GitHub or GitLab, right? Because people don't know. But they do know what projects they need to touch, right? Because that's their daily job. That's what they are doing on a daily basis. And they seem to be very wary of going outside of their kind of, you know, scope of projects that they are touching, except on very few occasions where, you know, it's clearly that some PM comes and says we need to integrate with that team or the other team. So it sounds like you're finding some really cool dynamics in the companies that are working with you. So that's sort of interesting, because I also have the same ideas that, you know, we should have this sort of monorepo experience regardless of how the code is stored on Git, right? Which is something kind of powerful when you think about it, because from a perspective of DevOps, it's very hard to do that. You know, no one is going to say, okay, let's just combine our 50 repos into one just because we cannot do search, or because we can do this or that, or like replace a string to another API call or something like that. But if you can do that outside of you know, the Git representation of the code, that sounds very, very nice, at least to me. You know. But yeah, that's cool. I don't know if you have any thoughts to add to that, but
yeah, I mean, what worked for us initially is having a self-hosted, self-service product that anyone could set up, and that made it so that we got pulled into bigger companies where they just had, you know, a bigger need. And as we made the product better and better, the friction has gone down. So, you know, it used to be maybe it only made sense if you're like a 500-person company because it was kind of clunky to install. We made it really easy since then, so that 500 number has gone down and down and down. And lately, we've been spending a lot more time on making good code search for open source. And we still got a lot of work to do. But previously, we were so enterprise focused, and now open source. So this is kind of the next frontier for us. And hopefully, you know, I'm going to keep doing a lot of these. And hopefully, like, you know, 12 months from now, everyone is just like, holy shit, I'm going to be using this like 30 times a day for open source. But we got a lot of work to do to get there.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And yeah, I think for open source sounds like maybe an open source developer has a much different experience than I have, not doing any open source at all. So maybe those are the power users that I hijacked in your tweet. So
cool. Well, I want to, like, you know, post some recap of how this went. So what should I put in that recap? Like, how do you judge this compared to GitHub? Do you think you'll use it?
Yeah, I think I'll use definitely the structural search. I think that's something extremely powerful that GitHub doesn't have, and yeah, just the fact that, you know, it's search as a first-class citizen, right? Which is what you're doing, right? It's not just a feature inside of, you know, a whole monster of GitHub. You're actually taking search and making it to the thing. I think that's very valuable, right? So it's clear that there's a lot more to dig here, because there's a lot more use cases to find that you cannot do on GitHub, simply because this doesn't allow you to do it. But I think for me, the kind of the biggest thing was really this sort of ability to search, to do a structural search, a little bit like what semantic graph is probably doing, right? When you can kind of grab based on the AST. I find that to be quite nice, you know, at being developed linters and static analyzers for a long time. you get the sense that after a while they're almost like a query, and then just it's about how you present that information to the user. So I think the real challenge for me, that you're doing a much better job than GitHub, is just understanding what you're seeing out of the search, right? That it's ordered by stars. There is no like recently indexed, which doesn't mean anything to any developer, that no one really knows what that's doing. So it's more about how do you consume the data. It seems much nicer on Sourcegraph than on GitHub. And I think that's the big first step that you're doing, which is great, is that, really to kind of educate of, what are the possibilities, because developers don't know until you show them. So that's sort of my own takeaway. It's kind of what you're saying about pull requests. It looks pretty great, but then if you go and look at some other tools and see what are the actual possibilities that you can have when you're doing a code review, then you kind of understand, they are doing something very, very small still compared to what's possible.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you for taking the time. This is fun, and happy to chat anytime.
Sounds great. Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, thanks for clarifying a lot of things that are happening on the search of Sourcegraph and the potential. So definitely gonna try to distribute it along my network a bit more and try to educate people to do search. And yeah, hope for the best, and hope we'll talk in a year from now when you're doing something totally different, because everyone's already doing search. So now it's something else.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. Well, have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. You too, and have a good night.
All right. See you.
See you. Bye-bye.